Welcome to this episode of the North vs. South podcast, where we talk about gaming, technology, TV and films. This episode, we discuss the Black Widow film, the recent games that have just come out, and the Steam Deck delay.
You finally managed to watch Black Widow.
Yeah, we watched it about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I thought it was a pretty good film. What did you think?
I thought it was a good film, but I wouldn't say it's anything amazing. It's like one of those films where it's just like, oh, okay, that's nice. It's available. Yeah, I'll watch it, but it's nothing where I'm very excited to watch, or it didn't really just to do much for me.
I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting it to be set when it was set. I thought it was going to be 10 years ago or 20 years ago. It was a bit weird that it was only it's set in 2016 or 2017. So the way that story kind of fits into the whole Avengers storyline, I just thought was a bit strange. I enjoyed the movie, as a whole, but the fact that Natasha went off and she's got her, she's got that guy who's basically her Q, who kind of brings her equipment and vehicles and passports and everything, but she hasn't really needed him while she was part of the Avengers for ages. So the fact that she's kind of called upon him after 4 or 5 years and he's already at her beck and call or whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
No, it would have made more sense. Some of it would have made more sense if it was sort of pre-2012 Avengers sort of thing. But I guess the problem is that they would then have to actually do some de-aging on Scarlett Johansson. To make her look like she's 10 or 15 years younger, which would have been probably too much hard work. Not after they've spent all of that money and time doing it to, who did they do it to in Captain Marvel? Nick Fury. Why can't I remember Nick Fury's name?
What's Samuel L. Jackson?
That's the one, Samuel L. Jackson. Why can't I remember names?
Well, they did it on Captain America himself, didn't they?
Yeah, that was only for a quarter of a film though.
Yeah, that wasn't very long.
Which to be fair, was probably took as much time and money as it took to de-age Samuel L. Jackson for the entire film in Captain Marvel. So
with that film, I remember they had to get him so he looked like he didn't look so buffed up. So they actually got a guy who was a lookalike and he was really skinny, but he really looked like I can't remember the guy that plays Captain America.
Chris Evans.
Chris Evans. So they kind of CGI Chris Evans' face onto that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this Black Widow, I kind of halfway through, I kind of just was getting just fed up with it, because for me it was kind of hard to understand what they were saying as well, because there was really a lot
What? It wasn't that. They're not I don't even know if any of them are Russian.
Oh, okay.
It was British and American people putting on a European accent.
I just couldn't that guy, the dad. I just couldn't understand what he was saying, and then I got interested. I was interested, and then I was like, what is going on? I don't really understand what's going on. And then they had to hijack him out of prison, and that's when it picked up again. And I was like, okay, this is getting good again. I think the dialogue for me was very hard to understand. I couldn't get into it. I just couldn't get into the film.
I think that's your own prejudices. The leads were so you got Scarlett Johansson, who is she's American, isn't she? You got Rachel Weisz. What's she? Is she American or is she something else? I can't even remember her name to spell it. Wait, hang on. I got Black Widow open here. Rachel Weisz.
French.
French. Oh, she's English. She got two English people and 2 American people. They're all putting on Eastern European accents. You shouldn't have had any trouble understanding them, because it's not actual Russian accent. It's sort of a westernized version of that accent. And even the main guy up in the sky, he was the bleeding London, almost like London Cockney.
Yeah, what's his name? I forgot his name now. The guy that's in The Departed.
Ray Winston.
Ray Winston, yeah. He wasn't bad, but he was it kind of he felt he wasn't really the badass villain that you kind of wanted from him. If you know what I mean?
No,
he seemed like the Penguin.
Yeah, I was going to. Do you know something? It was more like that. He kind of represents the social undertones in the world almost. He wasn't a big bad villain like Thanos, Red Skull, or anything like that. but he was like manipulating things behind the scenes, and particularly the way he was kind of like controlling and abusing women. So it was basically, he was almost like Harvey Weinstein almost. He's
Yeah.
not like a super villain, but he is a super evil person in what he's doing and the methods that he uses it with all the with all the Black Widows. But I mean, he played it pretty well.
Yeah. I would say the actual CGI and the effects were pretty good. Like when they're falling
I
off
don't know. There was a
building.
couple of bits where I don't know. Maybe it was just because there was a part where I was wondering if the working from home Disney crew didn't have access to super advanced rendering computers, because there were a couple of scenes that didn't feel like they had as much money behind them. But I
Really?
had a look at the budget, and it had the budget for the Black Widow was the same as the budget for Black Panther. There was just a few scenes where I was like, "Oh, that doesn't look like good CGI. It looks like, it almost looks like CGI from a Bond movie from the 80s." Like, not that it was bad, but it just, for a second, it wasn't fully convincing. It was probably the big explosion scene in the prison when that thing kind of collapsed.
Oh yeah. What about the ending scene? The ending scene was quite good. Like when they're falling off the sky. I thought that was quite good.
Oh, what? Where they're falling from like 200 miles in the sky, and I've got plenty of time
Yeah.
to do everything they need to. It's kind of like the endless, the runway, or the exact same scene from Saints Row 3.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's I thought that was decent. Like at least you get some good effects in there, but yeah, overall I would say the one thing that disappointed me is there's a part where one of the ladies that's been
One of the Black Widows.
yeah, it's near like the start of the film, and they get killed in the street, and I was like, I think she gets like stabbed or something like that, and you don't see it, and you don't even see any blood. Like I was kind of like, it kind of threw me out the film because I was like, at least show something, like shows some sort of.
Yeah, but there's two things going on there. Is that one, she got stabbed. She's wearing a costume that, depending on how you get stabbed, like the blood's not gonna like gush everywhere. It's kind of just gonna be like if she was wearing the white suit that Florence Pugh's character was wearing, then yeah, you're gonna have red everywhere. But because she was already wearing all black, you're not gonna see the red blood because it doesn't look like that in real life on dark materials. And the other thing is, like, this is a Marvel movie, but it's not
Yeah.
Deadpool, so they're not going to go full gory. They did show. I'm not saying you saw the knife go into her, but they did. It was definitely a stabbing. Like no one missed that she was stabbed. So I don't know. I mean, I didn't feel like that was unrealistic. That's just the direction that Disney chose for the tone of that film. I mean, I think some of these films, they do have elements where they peak with certain scenes, but because they want to keep a 12 rating or a 15 rating, they can't maintain it. So like Deadpool's an 18 because like there's swearing throughout, there's sexual references throughout, and there's just an insane amount of gore and violence throughout the film. Whereas every Marvel Avengers film will have like fight scenes and you might see a bit of blood, but you're not going to see someone's head blown off. There's if you do see blood in the film, it's only going to be for a couple of scenes, because I think there's like, if you have 2 scenes with blood in it, that's a 12. That's okay for a 12. If you have 3 or 4, that suddenly puts it up to a 15. So that's what they're trying to like keep it under.
Yeah.
You know how it's like TV soaps? They have a swearing quota for the year. So they can say bloody like 3 times a year, and that's all they can do.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, isn't it? And I suppose it's like you say, because it's a Marvel Disney film. You're not going to expect like you say, like Deadpool being 18. It's not that kind of target audience. But I think it was just the way that it was shot. I was kind of disappointed. Like the way I was expecting, like just something a little bit more. Try and make it into, get around it somehow.
Get around what?
Well, if you see like a good example is like a superhero film like The Dark Knight, like
Yeah, but DC is such a different kettle of films. Like they are darker. But is there an equivalent scene in Marvel? I mean,
I would say Winter Soldier was quite.
Do you know what the difference is? Sorry, there's a lot of scenes in Marvel where people get stabbed by non-human weapons.
Yeah.
And I think that seems to be more acceptable than an earth weapon. It's almost like Thor's axe going into Thanos's chest. That's okay because he's not human and the weapon isn't human, so you can almost disconnect from it a little bit more than you would if it was a human being stabbed with a normal regular blade, because you can almost feel it. You can empathize with that person who got stabbed.
What about Loki getting killed? I remember him. Did he get stabbed?
He was choked. He was choked.
Choked. So that was quite dark. That was probably like the darkest probably seen in the whole of the Marvel universe. I'd probably give it would you watch it again?
Yes, I enjoyed it.
Will you watch it again though? Because it kind of leads on to the next subject about the Disney IMAX. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah, I mean, so I did enjoy the film. I liked, and also I watched, we're not going to talk about it, but I watched Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings last night.
Mm-hmm.
And both films, despite being part of the Marvel universe, didn't feel like they were baked. They weren't beholden to everything that happened. Both of the films had one or two references to the main universe, but they managed to stand up as their own films. Black Widow was a fun film because you had this sort of disjointed family who didn't really like each other, but sort of had to come together and fight the big bad boss at the end. And there were just plenty of fun moments, especially in the farmhouse when the father figure was trying to jokingly jokingly bring them together, and that. I don't think it was a bad film. I did not enjoy it, so I would definitely. It's probably a film that I would watch again. The second viewing is going to be me playing a video game and just having it on in the background.
There you go.
Well, no, because the first time we watched it, we did sit down and we set the 2.5 hours out, and we both sat down to watch it. So we've done the planned watch, and the next time I watch it, it won't be 100% attention. It will be doing something and watching it on the side. So IMAX.
Yeah. What? So does it interest you that you can now watch it in an IMAX aspect ratio?
No and yes.
Okay.
So the real answer is no, I'm not interested, because I think it's a real shit show that films are shown in the stupid aspect ratio that they are.
Or letterbox.
Yeah, what is the aspect ratio? It's like 1.39.1 or something. It's something.
The widescreen is 2.35.
Right.
And IMAX, it's like 1.4 something.
Okay.
0.
Why are we watching 2.35?
Because the directors like that aspect ratio because they like you to see the wide shot, so you get a wider angle of what's going on.
But that's shit. I'm watching on a 16. I'm not in a cinema. I realise that. So cinemas often have widescreen screens. They have a 2:35, whatever the ratio is, the 2:35, whatever.
They have to mask it. They have to mask it down to that aspect ratio.
But that's fine. You were watching it at full size.
Mm-hmm.
In that ratio, and fine, I get that. That's not a problem. You get more on screen by going wide. But when I'm watching it on my 50-inch 16:9, it's like I was watching some of the shot. I was watching some of the scenes in Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, how would this shot be framed 2:35? And I was like, I know how it would be framed. The top and the bottom would be chopped off. In this particular scene, there was water, people in the middle, and mountain range at the top. They'd cut the top, they'd cut the bottom, and you'd just see the people standing by the water's edge. And it's like, you can argue whether there's more or less on screen in each shot, but it's nice when you're watching a video and it fills the screen that you're watching.
Yeah, I would say so.
You can have a profile shot of someone fill your screen. It's like, instead of it being, say on my screen, which is a 50-inch, I could have someone's head be a foot tall physically because it's in this IMAX format, whereas before, if I'd watched it not in the IMAX, because I'd be watching it in 2:35, the height would be shrunk down, so his head is only half a foot high, and everything is actually smaller than it needs to be. So the IMAX ratio is basically 16 by, I think it's about 16 by 8, 16 by 7. It's so close to 16 by 9 that there's barely any black and white letterboxing at the top and bottom.
Yeah, there's only a little bit.
It's like watching a 16 by 9 on a 16 by 10 monitor. Like,
Yeah.
it should be how most films are watched. Like, show me the most amount of information on my screen as you can, and have a theatrical release, have a home release. Like, that's absolutely fine. Just use my screen to its full potential. You know, unless you have a very particular reason, like the Wes Andersons, he very particularly uses 4:3 and 16:9, and that's fine. Like, that's a creative choice, and use it like in the Grand Budapest Hotel. He uses both of them in the same film to show different things, and it works really well. Like, that's a really important use of the aspect ratio. But show me a 235 just because you want everything to be wider, it just means everything's going to be smaller on my screen. So
I'd agree with you that it is good that we are now seeing a proper aspect. Well, more information on the screen. But my only concern is, I think there's only like two films, or 2 or 3, that actually the whole way through are 16 by 9, are IMAX.
yeah, I mean, it's going to require the film to have been shot for IMAX, isn't it?
I think there's like one film, there's like just one scene, and then the rest of it is 2.5 35. So is it worth it? Like, say if you own the physical Blu-rays or physical 4K Blu-rays of these films, is it worth to subscribe to Disney Plus just to see it in IMAX? I'm not so sure, because most of the films you're just going to get 5-10 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe an hour of seeing it at that aspect ratio, and then the rest of it's just your standard Blu-ray. And then if you own it on 4K Blu-ray, it's going to look better, because you're having the film physically on the desk is always going to be better than streaming it over the internet, and because they have to compress the film so you can watch it via.
I think your average person is going to, I was going to say mostly not care about the quality of Blu-ray versus streaming. There's no problem streaming 1080 at the moment. 4K, I don't know, because I don't have a 4K TV. That being said, I do have a Apple TV 4K, so I presume that it is pulling the 1080 version of all the shows that I'm watching, because it knows it knows what it's outputting, so I don't presume it's doing anything higher than 1080. I think most people, if they have Disney Plus, will just put the Disney Plus version on instead of putting it through the Blu-ray player, and will get those extra scenes or the whole movie or however it is per film. And maybe most people won't even notice the aspect ratio unless you point it out.
No, I think the diehard physical media people out there who are like, I really want to watch these films, but I don't want to subscribe to Disney Plus. I want to own the film physically. Like, that's what's annoying. It's like, if they released it physically as well, then hey, it's great. Yeah, whatever. But because it's behind a paywall and you have to keep subscribing, then it's like, oh, great. I'm never going to watch this unless I go to the cinema or they re-release it in the cinema.
I mean, if you already own it on Blu-ray, you're not going to repurchase the Blu-ray, are you?
Well, yeah, there are people out there like...
But it's one thing when you've got one film, so let's say something like Star Wars. I know people have bought Star Wars multiple times.
Yeah.
But when you've got 25 films, you're not going to buy 25 films multiple times. So paying £8 for a single month and then watching 3 of those films and then cancelling the subscription, the barrier to entry is so low these days. You don't have to sign up for a whole year. You can just sign up for a single month.
Yeah, that's true. It's like, if you want to get your fix, you could just pay a month and then watch the films and then be like, oh, okay, I've seen them. I'll wait a few years and then pay another month. It's not gonna, and it's cheaper probably if you work it like that. Like,
yeah, and so many people are getting things like Netflix or Disney paid for by other services, like your broadband, your TV provider. You might you can use Club Card to pay for like 3 months of Disney now.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
There's so many ways that you can get into these platforms without even paying anything extra, or you just have them because you've got Amazon Prime shipping, or you've got kids, so they're watching like the kid shows on Disney Plus. So I don't think there's going to be so few people who would buy, like, if they update the 4K pressing of the DVDs, then maybe they'll do that. But I don't think there's going to be many people who are going to rebuy an entire film series just because some of them are coming out in a new ratio.
They're not going to release them. They've already said like their primary focus is streaming Disney Plus.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm not surprised because a lot of the original films you can't buy anyway. The classics. The Pinocchio, the Cinderella, because they've got this whole Disney Vault. But now you don't need the Vault because everything's on Disney Plus.
I think like when they acquired Fox, they had like, I think Fox had like, do you know the film Speed?
Is that the
Keanu
bus?
Reeves? Yeah. So they had that on the pipeline already, like ready to ship out in 4K. So they were like,
hang on.
Yeah, you can.
Speed, as in, is this a new film or an old film?
No. This is the old. I'm on about old films.
Yeah.
You know the Keanu
I'll be
Reeves
honest. I watched it. I remember watching it. I had no idea it was Keanu Reeves in it. But when you said Keanu Reeves in 4K, I was like, wait, did they remake it?
Oh no, they've remastered it.
Oh, right, okay.
So that film, and there's a film called Heat as well, which they had. So it's stuff that's already been like in motion of like, oh yeah, we've got this stuff that needs to be released. So instead of just scrapping it, let's just carry on and release it. And then they haven't done anything like more after that. But to be fair, like, it's a business, they're there to make money. They're not there, like, if they want you to subscribe to Disney Plus to watch these films.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about services revenue these days. If you can get someone, service money is so regular, it basically just goes up and up. It doesn't really go down like Netflix, Apple, Amazon. Like, the one-time purchases that you make they're great, but they make so much stable money from services, and that's what makes the stakeholders happy and the Wall Street people happy. And that's what keeps all their stock pricing high and stable. So it's annoying at times. But it kind of works. And I know a lot of people do get kind of like subscription fatigue because you've got so many subscriptions. But like, at least you can chop and change your subscriptions far easier than changing your TV package from like Sky or Virgin. So we do have quite a few, like. At the moment, we have the most subscriptions to anything we've ever had. Like, we've got Netflix, Amazon, Apple TV, Disney Plus, and Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah,
but they are
it's a lot.
They are all actively used, genuinely. And when we stop paying, like when we stop watching one of them, we can just drop it, and there's we don't have to ring anyone up and. Like, that's £5 saved, that's £10 saved or whatever.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. There's no like hassle, it's not like, oh, if you have to ring up and like say like it's Sky or Virgin or anything like that. But yeah, I was gonna switch up the discussion to gaming. Yeah, that's okay with you.
Yeah,
I was gonna talk about the GTA definitive editions, and what are your thoughts?
I
knew it was gonna happen. I just knew it. Like, I knew they were just going to balls it up.
It's not. I mean, obviously, I haven't bought it because what's the bleeding point? Do you know what's really funny though? I noticed that San Andreas has just appeared on Gaming Pass.
Oh yeah, no, they announced that, didn't they? They announced it like a month before all the games are going to be on Game Pass.
Oh, I didn't know that. So what, the definitive version?
Yeah, it's on Game Pass.
Oh, I was doing something, a quick side thing. I've been playing for Forza 5. Horizon 5, and basically in Forza 4 my favourite car is a Ford Capri that I have sort of custom tuned up to a Group B, and I bought the same car in Horizon 5 and I tried to upgrade it, but it's not the same car. Like, it's technically the same car, but I can't get it to the same stats, and it doesn't drive the same way. So I was like, what I need to do is have Forza 4 open on the Xbox and Forza 5 open on my PC. And for love nor money, I could not get it working in the same room because the Xbox is in the living room and my PC is in the study, and I can't like walk from one place to the other for every single component. It was just like, it's just too much work. So I thought, I'll put Forza 5 on the Xbox and Forza 4 on Game Pass on the gaming cloud on the PC next to it. But because they're both Xbox, technically they're both Xboxes, I couldn't do them both at the same time. Do you know what I ended up doing? I had Forza 4 and Forza 5 running, both of them, on my PC at the same time. I had 2 games running, and these games, they're not, if I have them both in ultra, like the highest graphical settings, and they were both running simultaneously. Just so I could go,
Why?
This is the air intake I have, these are the valves I have, these are the brakes I have, and my computer was melting. And then at one point I actually it was like, your PC has just run out of video memory, because I've got 8 gigs in my video memory. Yep, I used all of it. Anyway, that was all to say, I noticed San Andreas was in Gaming Cloud.
Why can't you take a picture of it and just come?
Because I'd have to take something like 30 pictures.
Fair enough.
I wanted to know.
Well, take a video.
Yeah, but scrubbing through a video, it's just not easy. I wanted to go item by item and make it exactly the same, and I just couldn't make it exactly the same. Like, I upgraded everything to the same, like, but the PI was like massively different, and like the engine sound was massively different. So I'm wondering if the starting engine is just a different engine.
Maybe it's in your head.
No, because I just told you I had the 2 games playing side by side. So I would drive the Capri in Forza 4, see how it drove, see how it sounded, then I would immediately go into the menu, come out of the menu in 5, drive the same car down the road, see how it feels, hear how it sounded. They were actually 2 different cars. They may have been a Ford Capri and a Vauxhall Monza. They could have been 2 entirely different cars. They were not the same, despite being 100% identical. But anyway.
Well, they've updated it. The developers have updated it then.
Yeah, it's annoying. It's annoying because that was my favourite car, and I think I'm just going to have to go ahead with never using it again, which is quite upsetting, if I'm not going to lie. You
know what I found funny? I was watching some videos about that new Forza game, Forza Horizon, isn't it? What I found fun is, like, the guy's like, oh, it's really good, and you're driving around on a track, but you know what's even better? You could just drive it off-road. So he just literally got his car, started driving it on grass, and it's saying, oh, well done, and you're like, what? What's this all about? I don't understand. Like, why is it giving you points for driving off the road and driving, like...
So, here's the thing. Have you ever played Horizon?
No.
Have you played Motorsport? Forza Motorsport?
No, I've not played any of them.
Gran Turismo?
Oh, yeah, I've played them.
Okay, so Forza Motorsport is basically akin to Gran Turismo. It is hyper-realistic. It's a pretty difficult game to play if you are not a driving sim enthusiast. Like, you can still play it on controller, but you have to really focus. Things like traction control. If you don't have traction control, you're going to spin the wheels.
Right.
Forza Horizon is a little bit closer to an arcade game.
Oh, okay.
But it's still relatively realistic, and traction control and ABS make the game playable and make it a challenge if you don't have them on. But it is a very positive game. You can't not get money or cars in Horizon 5, whereas in Forza Motorsport, it's a lot slower. You make the money a lot slower. You do get cars for free, but you only get them every so often. But in Forza Horizon, it is like they're just throwing at you. You get a car, you get a car, you get a car. It is a very positive game, and it's nice. In a way, it is nice because you have all these games which are challenging and everything, but this is a game that you don't have to be a good gamer to pick up and play and to enjoy. So it is nice in that sense, and it's good to come, like, you can go away from the game and come back to it, and you can pick it up again really quickly. That's the lens you've got to view it in. It is a game that purely puts positivity into the world.
Would you say that, is it a 10 out of 10?
No, because they don't have my Capri.
There you go.
No, I mean, actually, Forza Horizon 5 is legitimately a worse game than Forza Horizon 4 for a number of reasons, some that might be technical and fixed in a software update,
Yeah.
and others that might be gameplay mechanic decisions that they've made. So the biggest ones for me are, I play on the PC, so at the moment the game doesn't hide the cursor.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah.
You have to drag it there.
Yeah, I can move it to a different monitor, but I can do that because I have multiple monitors.
Right.
If I had a single monitor, I'd have to put it into a corner and it would always be visible. But Forza 4 does hide the monitors, does hide the cursor. So I think it's just something that will come in a patch. There is a bug with the radios where it doesn't remember the last radio you have playing. So I typically don't have the radio playing, and in this game I kept turning it off and it kept bringing the radio back in. I kept turning it off and it kept bringing it back in. So in the end I just had to turn the radio volume to 0 so that the radio is technically playing, just at no volume. Another one is I play with the cockpit view and I play with a manual gearbox, and whenever you go into the expeditions, which are they're like the big races that set up certain parts of the game. It basically, what it does is the game is one of those cutscenes where you're in a cutscene and then it throws you into driving, so you're already moving. But when you're in a manual gearbox, what it does is you're doing 70 miles an hour in gear 1 and you're hardlining the rev counter because the game hasn't upshifted automatically. See, this is where it's a bit inconsistent because it does that. On one hand, it does that, but in another race, it turned off my manual gearbox. I was driving along and I was trying to shift the gears, but I couldn't shift the gears. So it does both behaviors in different places, and it's just like really weird. And consistently, what it does also do is it takes me out of the cockpit view and into the third person view, which I do agree for those races is kind of better, but still it's kind of annoying because I'm like, oh, maybe it might also be turning traction control off or turning it on and turning ABS on. And when you're used to throwing the cars into corners, and with traction control off, you can throw it into the corner and you'll know it will slide. When traction control is on, you can't do that. You just end up looking silly. When you have ABS off, you have to pump the brakes to come to a stop. If ABS is on, well, you're going to come to a stop a lot quicker than you expect it to. So it's just all about setting expectations with how you're going to play the race. And for people who want that bit of extra challenge, it really feels like it's trying to bring you back into the easy mode. Apart from there was one race, and I think this is intentional, I think it's fine, but it didn't tell me what it was doing. I play with average to above average drivers. That's like the difficulty level. And that's about what I can do. I can just about do the above average. It's difficult, but I can just about make it work. I was doing the race and I don't know, I'll be honest, I was getting really pissed off. And I almost rage quit. And I think I did rage quit. But what it was doing, I found out what it was doing is, for that challenge, you had to play against expert drivers. But I didn't know it was doing it. So I just could not keep up with all the other with the drivers. Drivers is it's what they call the bots, basically, the AI. I just couldn't catch up with them, and I was like, I know I'm not a great gamer, but I was like, I'm not this at this game. Especially that I picked up Forza 4 about 6 weeks ago, so I was kind of in the swing of things for this style of driving. And when I realised what it was doing, I was like, I'm just putting this away for the night and going to bed.
So you only picked up Forza 4 6 weeks ago?
No, I picked it up again.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I picked it up again. For some reason I got it. I think. Oh, I tell you why. When we were talking about the Gaming Pass, the Xbox Gaming Cloud.
Yeah.
So I've actually been playing Forza 4 since about mid-August, actually.
Yeah.
I really got into it again after doing all that sort of like game testing. So
you've been playing on the Xbox itself or the PC?
PC.
Oh, okay.
Mostly just because of where I am. And my PC plays it so much better than the Xbox does. I will say, in terms of performance, the game 5 looks amazing. The initial loading time is abysmal. It takes like almost 5 minutes to load. It's one of those games where you set it loading and you just walk away and make a drink. That being said, the in-game loading times are almost non-existent.
That's probably why then.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that. So Jen plays it on the Xbox One S, and the loading times are horrible. I've gone in there at times, and the loading times are like 30 seconds to a minute for a race, or when you're changing cars or whatever. And for me on my PC, I can change cars, and it's like 5 seconds. I can load a race, and it's like 10 seconds.
Can she play and you play at the same time? Like...
Yes, yeah, we can. But only if I'm playing on the PC and she's playing on the Xbox.
That's interesting. So you recommend it then?
If you liked 3, then it's a great game. If you liked 4, then it's also a great game. If you haven't played any of the Horizon games, but have only played Motorsport, I would definitely say try it. It's a game full of positivity, but it's definitely got things that are challenging in it, and you can definitely put the difficulty ratings up, so it is a challenging game. But it is a multiplayer-driven game. You can play solo, but also it's open world with like other drivers as well, like traffic. So you got that to contend with in some of the races as well. My favorite racing style is dirt racing, and you don't get any of that in Motorsport, I don't think. So have you tried? So you haven't tried any of them?
I think I might have been given one on Xbox Gold, when games for gold.
I think what you should do is over Christmas, suck it up, pay the £12 just for a single month.
£12?
Yeah, £12 a month.
Yeah.
I think you can get it for less. Like if you didn't get Ultimate.
I'd rather just buy the game for like 35 quid.
Well, because what I was going to say is that both 4 and 5 are currently on on Gaming Pass.
Yeah.
So instead of spending 80 quid for 2 games, you could spend 12 quid and play both of them for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, you could get them used, or just buy them digitally. But I'd recommend trying. The other thing is that 3 is set in Australia, 4 is set in the UK, and 5 is set in Mexico. There's something nice about 4 because obviously we're both British. It kind of does feel, the setting genuinely feels British. It doesn't feel like a caricature of the British culture. It genuinely feels like Britain in a nice way. So I think the Australian and Mexican surroundings are probably faithful in a good way. I think you'd probably enjoy the Mexican one the most. It's got the biggest, longest roads for the speed and things like that. So
okay, cool.
I definitely recommend you to try them if you like driving games.
I do, yeah. I played a bit of Gran Turismo 5 and 6. I haven't played the most recent one on the PS4. But yeah. If I see it, the thing is with these types of games, they generally go pretty cheap eventually, and then just pick them up. Back to GTA quickly.
Yep.
Kind of just what you expect. The positive, like the thing I'm thinking about is like I remember they announced like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas in HD on the PS3, I think on the 360 as well, and then it was just like the mobile version, wasn't like the PS2 or the Xbox or. And I was like, really? I was like,
yeah.
It's just the mobile. They just took the mobile version and put it on the PS3. So at least like there are positives, but I'm hoping like with like patches and stuff.
Well, this is the thing. Like, it's possible that like what happened to No Man's Sky is that they'll learn from. The thing is, it just I don't know. Like I've seen videos and screenshots of what's coming out. It doesn't look like they cared.
No, that's the thing. Like people,
it's not that they did a bad job. I wouldn't mind if they had simply done a bad job. But there's one picture where someone posted. It was the back of one of the guys, and he's wearing a sports jumper, and you can see there's an emboss, like a 3D effect of the letter 9, but the texture has the number 7, and it's like they just didn't. It feels like they didn't care enough to do it any justice.
Have you seen that rain effect on all of them, all 3 games? It's like you walk under a bridge and it's like rain still coming through the bridge. Like,
that's really common in video games, though.
What, rain coming through a bridge?
Yeah, I played some really modern games that still do that. I'm trying to think what it like. Is it Just Cause 3 or something? I have played a recent game where you go inside a building or you go under a tunnel and it's still raining.
Well, Vice City, I was really like, no, I would never play that because the actual character model of Tommy looks awful. It looks nothing like.
See, this is the thing. That's the one I want to play.
Really?
That Vice City is the only one I genuinely want to play right now, because Vice City is my favorite. Vice City is my game is my greatest of all time game ever, and that's the one I would have liked to have played with, you know, the nice new lighting and everything.
Look at the character model of Tommy. It just looks terrible. Like, it looks nothing like the original. I'm like, and the Switch version is a completely. Of course, like the Switch is not as powerful as the PS5 and Xbox Series X and PC, but they downgraded it quite a bit as well. So that doesn't look any good. It looks like the same. It looks the same as the PS2 and Xbox version, but
I'm looking at a picture. You know when he's in the hotel in the very first scene and he's talking to Sonny, and there's that, you know, where's my money sort of thing.
Yeah.
There's a picture of him holding his hand out. You know, in the original game they had club hands, so their fingers were not separated. It was a thumb and a single giant hand.
That was the PS2 version.
Yeah. So they've separated out the hand, but it looks like his little pinky finger looks like a thumb. So I've just tried to download San Andreas, right? Because I can see San Andreas is on the
Game Pass.
It's on Xbox Cloud Gaming, but I can't find it on Game Pass. Oh, because it's not Game Pass for PC. It's only on Game Pass for Xbox. Yeah, see, that's the thing, is that I would get it on Steam to play it on the PC, not to play it on the Xbox.
They're so stupid. Like, you know about the coffee club, is it? You know about that?
Sorry, in what? Like, I know the hot coffee controversy.
Yeah, that's it. The hot coffee
from the original one. Yeah,
and San Andreas. So the version that they released had that in the new.
No, so so what happened, right? Is they technically the files were in the game.
Yes.
But they were unused.
Yes, but then
so the rating, the original game had the correct rating because the files were there, they weren't actually in the game, and just because some guy found them and managed to mod them into the game doesn't mean that the game needed to be re-rated. Like, I know there's the whole hot coffee controversy, and who was it, Mad or Drunk, or, you know, that whole internet group from 2005 got crazy over it, and then Hillary Clinton got involved, and something happened with the game.
It got taken, like, they took it off the shelves and then re-rated it and took out the.
I don't think any of that should have. I don't think any of that should have had to have happened because it wasn't in the game.
But that content was in the definitive edition, so they've had to.
Oh, was it?
So they had to pull it out because they're like, "Oh shoot, we've released this version of the game that contains the hot coffee." So that's why it's been pulled off Steam and everywhere.
Oh, that's quite funny. I didn't hear that it happened a second time.
Yeah. Well, they were like,
the thing is, if they had just left it in the game and had it rated, it'd have been alright, because, you know, there's worse stuff than that in Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah. Well, basically, it was them because they realized, I was like, oh no, we've made a mistake. Like, they could have just left it in there and see what. But they want to. Of course, they'll gonna get a lawsuit, weren't they? It's like, oh,
I bet these games haven't been re-rated. I'm gonna guess that they have done as little changes as possible to the game to not have to get it re-rated and not have to pay for that process.
It's interesting,
and that's why they've had to. That's why they can't keep the original files in the system or whatever. That's just a hunch that I have, given what you're saying.
I think if it if that did come out again, that they would face legal issues, because.
Would they though? Like, it's not actually in the game. It's not accessible in the game.
Well, it would be, because it's, you know,
you have to use mods to get it.
Yeah, well, you know, people they will find it. Someone out there will find it. And so they did the right thing. They're doing the right thing, taking it out and getting rid of it and just releasing it again.
They should release it as a paid DLC.
But the thing is, like, loads of people are saying on Twitter, like, oh, how do I get my money back? I want my money back. How do I get my money back? And I think, like, they're just responding saying, oh, here's this claim form you have to fill out or something. But yeah, the thing is, at least, like, what I worry, like, what my big concern is like, which I hope they don't do, which I presume they won't, is that they would release the games like San Andreas on the PS3 and 360. And I think the PS3 version was the only one that got an update, like, to some of the bugs, and the 360 version was, like, left broken. There was a particular missions, like, it's impossible to pass it because you have to press, like, the X button, like, you have to keep pressing it or something, because you're in your car and you have to move the car around, and it's, like, impossible to. So, but I'm hoping that they can, you know, over time they can patch it and fix it. And it's like, you kind of think it's like, what do you expect in this day and age of game development? It's like, let's just release it and then patch it and fix it later. You might as well just forget about release dates or anything. Just wait a year after they say it's been released and then play the game. It's like Cyberpunk, No Man's Sky.
Yeah, but like I don't know. Like, yeah, that's happened a couple of times on some big games, but like, you know, Microsoft have managed to release 3 games in the last year or two, and they've been fine.
Yeah.
Like I'm just looking, right. Flight Simulator released. Okay, they had some map issues, like, but that's because they had this weird new AI thing, and London just looked a bit weird. But that wasn't really a bug with the game. That was just something crazy they were doing with their technology. The game itself worked flawlessly, as it should have done. Forza Horizon 5 has been pretty much mostly bug-free. Like, I've had a few issues, but they're not game-stopping, and I don't think they're gonna, you know, like, I did think to myself, I was like, am I gonna stop playing and wait for them to fix it, or am I gonna carry on? And I said, I'm just gonna carry on because I'm enjoying the game enough. And also, Age of Empires 4 came out about 3 weeks ago, and that's not been a problem. That's been...
Have you played that?
I haven't played it as much as I thought I would. I think I'm probably going to wait till the Christmas break.
Yeah.
I was kind of waiting till the half-term break a couple of weeks ago, but I didn't actually have any time off. It's the sort of game, it's a bit like The Sims. I would probably play it all day for a few days, then play it a few hours in each evening. I did the first tutorial-y type thing, and that's about as far as I got. Have you played it at all?
Yeah, I just quit out of that. That seemed good for like people who have never played it. For me,
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to see what the gameplay mechanics were going to be, because from what I feel, it feels to me like it is a blend of the good parts of 3 with all the best parts of 2.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
So like, it feels like 2 with some quality of life improvements.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that you don't have to constantly replenish the farms. I like the fact that you can have units and technologies in the same queue. I like that you can double click on buildings and multiple buildings and say, oh, make me 20 soldiers, and it will automatically make 5 soldiers in all 4 buildings, so you don't have to like manually do it. So it does have some great quality of life stuff. I just need to find the time to sort of grind through it.
Yeah. I started playing it a few days ago, maybe last week, and I played it on normal, just me and this AI. I was just playing skirmish mode. I was just collecting all my food, my wood, my stone, my gold. Like the AI just came for me. I was surprised. I was like, oh
yeah,
it's not bad.
Well, I'm not surprised. Have you played Age of Empires 2 Steam Edition recently?
Nah, so I haven't got the most recent. There's like a new version of that, isn't there? Like
I haven't got the new version with the fancy graphics, but I've got the HD edition. Now, so going back to 2003 when I first played Age of Empires 2, I'm not gonna lie, I definitely got stuck in a rut playing the game. I knew that if I played on easy mode, that the AI would never upgrade. They would never advance stages before you would.
Yeah.
So I would use that to my advantage. So what I would do is I would put palisade walls around relics and stuff like that. And I would hold off until upgrading the castle age until I was ready. And I wouldn't make any army until like the castle age either. And I started playing it again about 10 years ago, and I would still do the same tricks because those gameplay mechanics still existed. And about 3 years ago, there was a major update. I think it was maybe the same time that they had that new update. They put the same mechanics into the HD edition, just not the fancy graphics. And I suddenly noticed that I was doing my, I think it's Deathmatch that I played, or maybe it's a standard game or something. It's one where you have to go and kill each other's kings. Regicide, that's one, Regicide. So I was playing those ones, and all of a sudden, I was in Dark Age, and they were upgrading to Castle Age, with ahead of me, and I was like, "Wait, what's going on? What's going on?" I think the behaviour in 2 was suddenly a lot more randomised and less dependent on what you were doing. So I fully suspect, or I fully expect, that in Age of Empires 4, that unless you play on the easiest mode, which I'm not, I'm genuinely playing on the one that they say this is the version that is meant to be played at. That's the one I am playing at. It is going to be a little bit of a challenge, and and it's not going to be kind to you. That's kind of why I've been like pushing it off and waiting until I've got a bit of time to sit down and play it.
Yeah, I got absolutely destroyed. But then I played it a few more times, and I quickly put a wall up, and that was it. Like once you put the wall up and put the towers, and then you upgrade, and you get to like the castle age, you get to the last age, you can have like cannons and God knows what you can upgrade. To be fair, I was playing with AI friendlies on my team, so I think it's like 3 against 3. So I had a team of 3, and the opponents had a team of 3. But I just put up this wall, like this walls around my camp, and I just like each time they just keep coming to the same area. They don't go anywhere else, and I just put like a massive castle there, and it's there's no way they can get through. And then I just built this giant army and just destroyed their camp. Just went through them. But yeah, it's like the villagers. What I like about it is I remember I can't remember if this was in 2, but say if they're not doing anything, you kind of got to keep track of everything. Like you got to make sure that they're doing something, or they just stand there.
Yeah, but that's is it comma and full stop? One is idle villagers, the other is idle active military. So you just cycle through them, and you hear that noise. So in 2, you press that button, and you get that.
Oh yeah.
People who've been playing Age of Empires 2, they know the sound I mean.
Yeah.
You know that. So I think the sound is different in 4, but the button, the hotkeys are all the same. So you can still press those and find your idle villagers.
There's like a little notification thing on the left, there's like, and it says like they're not doing anything.
Oh, is there?
So it will tell you. But the thing is, I found is like there's not a lot of stone in this map where I was playing, but there's a lot of gold. So I had like 10, 15 villagers like getting stone and getting gold, and then like I had to go. It took them like I say like 5-10 minutes, and that's it. They're gone, and then they say like we've got nothing to do, and then you had to go and find another. It was very quick in terms of them gathering resources, and there wasn't a lot of like for stone. There's not a lot of stone to be found. It was all gold and fruit berries and stuff. That's quite neat, because then it's like, oh, you're not doing anything. Okay, you can do this, do that, do this, do that. Instead of just sitting there, doing nothing. You kind of, it lets you know that these people are not doing anything. You should really get them to do something, like cut wood or build houses, build buildings and stuff. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. It is very similar to Age of Empires 2. For me, this is not kind of Age of Empires, but I still think Rise of Nations is a better game than all of them.
Yeah, I mean, so you got me onto Rise of Nations, and I get where you're coming from. I really enjoyed Rise of Nations, and I think some of the gameplay mechanics in Rise of Nations are better. It was probably a more advanced game than Age of Empires was at the same time. I feel like Age of Empires has probably caught up a bit to it. So for me, I'm still going to be biased towards Age of Empires, even though I fully recognise what you're saying and have experienced probably better gameplay in Rise of Nations.
I think for me, like where you get to the part where it's like it stops at like in Rise of Nations you can make airplanes, and then you can make proper ships and submarines and stuff. I think when you get to like the nuclear stage in Rise of Nations, it does get a bit
Nuclear,
sorry.
Nuclear.
Sorry, mate.
That's not a word.
Yeah.
Nuclear.
But once you get to the nuclear stage, it does get kind of ridiculous, because then you can just like send an atom bomb, like you can just destroy everything. At least Age of Empires is more grounded. And then you get to a part where you can like spawn like so many different soldiers, and you have like this ability to spawn them in like seconds. There's no queue, so then you can spawn like 200 soldiers in like.
Yeah, I mean the thing that got me was you'd make a unit of soldiers, not a single soldier. So Age of Empires, you make 20 individual soldiers, whereas in Rise of Nations, you make a unit, and that might have 3 or it might have 10 or whatever it is. It took me a while to kind of understand it was doing that. It felt weird to play it that way, but it did kind of make sense. I can't remember much else about it. I do remember. Wasn't there like you have like your town center area, and you kind of like you kind of have like an area of effect for the
You have
resource
a
gathering.
territory, so you can only do stuff in your territory, and then to expand it, you
Yeah.
have to like build towns. So technically, it is a different game because like I do like in Age of Empires, it's like you need to defend yourself. You need to build a wall. You need to build like it's more like there's more like siege mentality in Age of Empires. It's like the enemies come in, we need to protect ourselves. And
I'll tell you, there's one thing that I kind of, I don't know, the thing that I always struggled with in Age of Empires, in all of the games, is map exploration. It's so tedious to do manually. I kind of wish I wish there was kind of like some auto move, so you can kind of set your scout cavalry to kind of just go and explore the map. And I realise you could just have the explored map or the fully explored map option, but I never liked using it. I kind of felt like that was cheating, but I also felt like maybe you have to manually explore the map, but once you've manually explored the map, you could set the scouts to constantly recheck the map, so like update on enemy positions or whatever.
is it not search and destroy on Age of Empires 2 then?
No, it is very much more manual in that kind of sense. But I didn't see that there was an option for that in Age of Empires 4. I'm sure there's probably a mod for it, and I think I might actually find something for that, because yeah, it was just the one thing. It's like what I would tend to do, and the way I got around it is I would always have an ally, and I would do that thing where you would share line of sight, and I would basically use my allies as auto move for seeing what the enemy was up to and seeing how much the enemy is growing and how big their army size is. Are there any other games coming out recently that you're intrigued by?
Well, I wanted to say about the Steam Deck being delayed by 2 months.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, well, I was so looking forward to that. Just not to get my hands on one. I just wanted to see like what the actual reviews and discussions and like seeing like benchmarks.
I'll be honest, mate, with everything that's going on in the world, with the chip shortage and everything, I'm just not surprised that I'm not surprised that it's been delayed. Like maybe it's nothing to do with the chip shortage. Maybe they're still struggling with a few final design ideas or something. But
no, they said it's because of the chip shortage. They sent out development kits to developers. So that's all.
But that's the right thing, isn't it? You know, send out the kits so that the people who want to make... Well, I don't know, actually. You don't need to make games for the Steam Deck. It's not like a console, is it? Like, if it runs on PC, if it runs on Linux, it's going to run on a Steam Deck. Yeah, I suppose you could optimize for it, but...
Proton is like... Yeah, Proton's a Pacific...
Yeah, but I thought Steam was doing all the heavy lifting with Proton, not developers.
I'm not sure.
It's like you either make your game work on Linux or you try and run it under Proton.
I don't know, it's kind of weird because you have seen some videos of the Steam Deck appearing by developers, so I think they're just giving it to these developers and then they're like, oh no, don't share don't share it out, just but then they're like, oh okay, yeah, go on then. You know, there's been like loads of videos of like these games, like indie games on the Steam Deck. It's like, oh, this works on the Steam Deck. This works on the Steam Deck. Games that probably I wouldn't play, but yeah, it's nice to know. But yeah, I'm kind of disappointed that it's not coming out at the end of this year, next month. Kind of looking forward to it, but it's coming out in February, apparently, now. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I am looking forward to like what it can actually do in terms of like, can it play Cyberpunk on the go? That would be awesome. You know, even I know like, of course, like low settings.
Are you? What are you thinking? Are you thinking of getting one when you are thinking about getting one?
Yeah, but are
you in the queue?
Yeah, I'm in the queue. I was Q2, but I'm probably on Q4 now. You know, it's been probably not Q4, maybe Q3. It's been delayed by 2 months, so everything's been pushed back.
But don't forget as well, as much as the first batch might get pushed back, but the second batch and the third batch might not get pushed back as much, because there's going to be a lot of people who have put their name down to buy one, but won't get one.
Yeah,
so it is more likely to shrink down than it is to extend. unless something big happened. Like that's, it's not impossible for it to extend, but generally I think, the first people might get delayed by 2 months, but the people who are Q4, a whole year away, are probably going to have maybe a month extended, or maybe not get extended at all, because there's that many dropouts that you could just pick one up anyway from the previous batches. So
Did you pre-order it?
no, I tried to. It basically failed, and every time I tried to, and I can't be bothered to get one currently. I don't think we need one really. We've got 2 gaming PCs. It's not really a necessary thing. If we decide to move on to a boat, it would be quite good.
Yeah.
Like, because it's small, powerful enough, but doesn't use too much actual power, like electricity power. Like, it would be good in that sense. But at the moment, we just don't need it.
For me, it'd be quite cool because, I've got 2 kids, and it's kind of hard trying to get on the computer, play some games, or get to a gaming console.
You've got quite a good use case for it.
Yeah, because I could just pick up and play, and it's like I can put it somewhere where they can't get to it.
Are you more likely to play it handheld?
Yeah. So I'm thinking like...
Which sounds crazy. Are you more likely to play a handheld console handheld? Well, yeah. I mean, the way I see it, I've always seen it as a living room gaming PC.
Yeah, and you can do.
Whereas, so Jen might play some of the games handheld, but like with the Switch. Whereas I never play the Switch handheld. I always have it docked up to the TV. And if we ever had one, it's probably going to be the living room gaming PC where you could play it handheld, but most of the time I'm going to have it as the one that's just up on the big screen to play Horizon 5 on the big screen TV, but at better graphic settings than the Xbox One can do. What did you think about the hardware teardown? Did you watch those videos?
Yeah, so basically it's just like, don't do this, don't do that. Do not put a new SSD or hard drive, because you're gonna... Kind
of disappointed that the eMMC model is the same slot as the M2 one, so you can't buy that one with the 64 gig and add a terabyte and have a terabyte plus 64. You have to swap the eMMC module out for whichever MSAT you put in. I mean, for me, I wouldn't have gotten the eMMC version anyway. I'd have gone for the top one with the the textured glass and the... is it a terabyte or 512?
Yeah, I think it's like 500 gig something. You would have got the full one.
Yeah, I mean, you're already in for that much. If you're already in for 400 quid, why not get the one that's 600 and not worry about having to take it apart and maybe damage it or whatever?
Yeah.
Remember, I'm happy to buy an iPad or a MacBook, whereas you buy a second-hand laptop off your mate. So we are 2 different types of customers,
So what quickly I was going to say about this, like in terms of placement of the Steam Deck, is like I'm going to play it handheld in the house, but say it's USB-C, isn't it? You could just connect it. I could put that in the shed. I could put it anywhere, and that's the beauty. I could have like multiple USB, and then just... You
could still use your Steam Link. Have your Steam Link up in the shed and have it docked in the living room and just Steam Link to it instead of walking into the house to pick it up.
The thing is, I've got a PSP, I've got a PS Vita, and I've never had a Switch. So I've never had that kind of like, wow, look, I got, AAA games on the go. Like, PS Vita is pretty good, but it's not, these games are nothing special. And, but the Switch is, it would be nice. It would be nice to have a Switch, but I think for me, like having the Steam Deck, just having the games that I already own, and you got a vast library of games via Steam, and just having that on the go kind of experience, and I don't have to worry about wires and stuff with the kids. You just pick up and play, and off I go.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Please feel free to like and subscribe on YouTube, or to follow us in your podcast app of choice.